Chapter 16. Although everyone lacked medical knowledge, they generally understood Dr. Xiao's meaning. For them, extracting the harpoon was simple, stitching up a wound was difficult. Now that the writer's life is saved, the only thing we need to do is to quickly leave here and find a suitable place to treat his wound again. Dr. Yuan's thoughts back to reality. If they couldn't leave, their fate would eventually be the same as Han Yimou's. How do we leave? Has the game ended? Lin Tian asked. Huaizhao thought carefully for a moment and shook his head. The mask had been very clear. The person named Dog hoped they would survive and said, "See you after the rain." After the chaotic rain of harpoons, human dog would appear, potentially bringing the next game. But why hadn't they shown up? Hey, liar. Yao Jiaijin walked slowly to Qia's side and asked seriously, "You have a way to survive, right?" "So?" Qi replied coldly. "What does it matter to you if I can survive or not? I'm not as smart as you, so I can only find someone to cooperate with." Qiao Jiaojin seemed to be recommending himself. "You have brains, I have strength. Let's work together." Qi frowned slightly at these words. "Sorry, I'm a liar. I don't plan to trust anyone other than myself." Before Qiao Jiaojin could say anything further, Officer Li's voice suddenly came with a question. "What is this?" Everyone turned to look and saw Officer Li examining the harpoon in his hand carefully. "What's wrong?" Jack urged Officer Li cautiously and asked. "There are words." Officer Li handed the harpoon to Drive. Dr. Look and his expression changed. The harpoon, as thick as a finger, indeed had small text at its tail. "I am human sheep." Seeing this text means you have survived. But how many of you have survived? Is anyone injured? I am really very worried about you. I can't bear to watch you die. 15 minutes later, death will descend again. Avoid it and try to survive. Zhao gritted his teeth and then threw the harpoon fiercely to the ground. "Do you think I'm a fool? It's never ending." He roared loudly, as if wanting to release all the repressed emotions he had so far. "Calm down," Officer Li said sternly. "If you can't control your emotions, how will you survive?" "Survive? But we are already dead." "Don't take it any more. We are already dead, yet we are still tormented by the fear of death. What does the organizer want? Can't he either kill us outright or let us go?" Everyone's expressions were grim. What was the point of these continuous threats of death? As the so-called sheep-headed man said, were they selecting a god? Could it be that everyone except this so-called god would go to hell? "Everyone, we have survived 2 games. Do you think it's because we're smart?" "No." Dr. Xiao clenched his fists tightly. "We were just lucky." "But what about next time? The time after that? How long can we survive in this ever-changing room?" Officer Li pursed his lips, walked up, and grabbed Dr. Xiao by the collar. "Hey, buddy, at this life or death moment, the most important thing is morale. If you don't want to live, you can die yourself. Don't shake the morale here." Dr. Xiao's lips trembled. "But how do we get out? Do you have a way to take us out?" Officer Li pondered for a while and said, "I don't have a way. I only know that we need to survive. As long as we survive, there is hope." He released his grip on Drive Xiao, picked up the harpoon, looked at it, and then examined the harpoon upon Han Yimou's shoulder, noticing that both harpoons had the same text. It seemed their luck had indeed been very good. The previous level not only required avoiding fatal attacks, but also needed to keep at least 1 harpoon to understand the clue for the next level. Anyway, this time we at least have a clear clue. Officer Li carefully read the text on the harpoon and said, "Unlike before, this time the attack will only come from above." He pointed to the small text on the harpoon that read, "Death will descend again." As soon as he finished speaking, the entire room began to change again. All the holes in the walls slowly disappeared, and the holes in the ceiling also began to change, revealing many rectangular openings, each about 1 meter long and 20 to 30 centimeters wide. Upon closer inspection, there were a total of 9 holes. Could this be death descending again? It looks like the game is becoming simpler. Officer Lee looked at the 9 holes in the ceiling inside. This is a bit of good luck and misfortune. But why has it turned back to human sheep? Lawyer Zhang pointed to the body on the ground that had been torn apart by the harpoons and asked, "Didn't we already kill human sheep?" Pijia thought for a moment and also found it strange. The sheep-headed person who died earlier indeed referred to himself as human sheep, but his mask had said, "I am human dog." Sometimes a sheep, sometimes a dog. Could this also be a clue? "There's no time left," Officer Lee said to everyone. "It's already 123. It seems it won't be long before those 9 holes in the ceiling will project some dangerous object. Everyone should pick up the tabletop and stand by the wall." Everyone noticed that the tabletops on the floor were a bit strange. These tabletops seemed to have a special structure. After being torn apart by the harpoons, they only left a square piece with a handle, with the central part of the wood appearing to be harder than the surrounding areas. Though the tabletops in hand were small, the 9 holes in the ceiling were all concentrated in approximately the center area. It looked like standing by the wall should be safe. Everyone silently picked up the broken tabletops from the floor, moved to the wall, and scattered to stand, staying away from the central holes. At this moment, Tijo remained unmoved and slowly closed his eyes. No matter how you looked at it, the third game was too peculiar, because the organizer had given a very direct solution. In TXIA's view, this time's hint seemed unnecessary. Did they want them dead or alive? Why specify human sheep and human dog separately? They and human dog weren't names. What could they represent? "Hey liar, come over here!" Zhao Jin shouted. "Standing under the holes will get you killed." Pijia glanced at the holes in the ceiling. "I have reasons that I must go out." "What's going on? Has the smartest person also turned into a fool?" Qiao Zhaoijin was somewhat confused. Pijia extended his index and lightly tapped his temple. "Wait. Give me a little more time." Everyone slowed their breathing and quietly watched Pijia in the center of the room, not understanding what needed further reflection in such an obvious game.